Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining me today. I wanted to get the word out to as many people as possible about various provisions and restrictions and options that you all have, those of you who are in non-essential businesses who are now going to be permitted to reopen under Governor Murphy's order starting on Monday morning, May 18th at 6 a.m. I wanted to just put together this presentation to get some information out there in a clear manner, in a concise manner, to as many people as possible. And for those of you on the line with me who are in healthcare businesses, this is definitely going to have a lot of valuable information for you as well. So we're going to discuss not only how our non-essential retail and business colleagues can get up and running again, but we're also going to discuss what those of you who are in healthcare should be doing as we go back to on-site services. I know some of you did elect to close or go to primarily telehealth, and as we get back to offering on-site services and in-office services, there are definitely some things that you need to know, some things you need to abide by, and some things that you will need to do for your employees to make sure that you don't have any problems from that perspective as well. Okay, so a little bit about me for those of you who don't know me. My name is Gina Campanella. I have my own law firm in Wyckoff, New Jersey, Campanella Law Office. I also have an office in Neptune, New Jersey, and in Midtown Manhattan. I practice in New Jersey, New York, Vermont, and Pennsylvania, as well as the District of Columbia. Now, what we're going to be discussing today, I am focusing on specifically the New Jersey state order. However, much of what we're going to be speaking about are guidelines that come directly from the federal government, from the CDC and OSHA. So if you do have any colleagues who are not in New Jersey, and you want to share this information with them, it's certainly applicable. And I will be posting a recording of this webinar on my public YouTube channel. So for anybody who maybe registered and came in late or has to cut out early, I certainly understand that. Or if you have a colleague or a friend that you think might benefit from hearing what we're talking about today after the fact, that certainly will be up on my YouTube channel, hopefully within an hour of the end of today's presentation. Now, you'll all see on your GoToWebinar platform here, there is a tab that says chat, okay? At any given point in time, if you have a question for me, please feel free to type it into that chat box. I will try to answer as many questions as I possibly can while still getting through the materials that I want to get through with all of you today. If I don't answer your question, or simply because I don't get to it, or if it's just a very specific question, I may simply say that's very specific, please contact me offline. All of my contact information will be at the end of the webinar, and I invite each and every one of you to contact me with any follow-up questions you may have. Okay, so let's begin. So as all of you very likely know, since you're here with me today, you signed up for this webinar on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. Governor Murphy, the governor of the state of New Jersey, signed Executive Order number 142. Now, just for some perspective, the first executive order in the state of New Jersey that I believe was related to COVID-19 was Executive Order 107. They go in numerical order, we don't skip. So that just gives you a general idea of how many executive orders we have had in the last 6 to 8 weeks from when this started until now. We've gone from 107 to 142. Okay, but this was a very important one. What this one did is it permitted non-essential construction to start again. Okay, it allows non-essential retail businesses to open again, provided they're utilizing only curbside pickup and local delivery. And it also allowed car gatherings. I'm not going to speak about car gatherings too much for our purposes today. If you happen to own a business where car gatherings is a big thing for you, feel free to reach out and contact me, and I'd be happy to discuss that with you a little bit more. But for today, what I'm really going to focus on is the businesses that have previously been deemed non-essential that are now permitted to open up. How do you open up? How do you keep yourself, your people, and your business, quite frankly, safe? Okay, so all of these things can resume as of 6 a.m. on Monday in the state of New Jersey. Okay, so what do they mean by curbside pickup? They've specifically stated in the executive order that curbside pickup should look like this. In-store operations are limited to only employees responsible for filling curbside pickup orders. Okay, so not only do they not want you having a bunch of customers in your store, they also don't want you having a bunch of employees that are not necessarily doing anything in your store. Okay, so if you need perhaps yourself and one employee to take and fill curbside orders, that's all that you should really have in there at any given point in time. Okay, and everybody who is there should have a responsibility, should have a specific task that they're doing to be there. Payment, where if at all possible, should occur in advance via telephone, email, online, what have you. Via telephone, you can take credit card information over the telephone. A lot of our restaurant colleagues have set up Venmo and Zelle, so people who ordinarily would maybe want to pay with cash or something like that could utilize those options if they don't want to pay with a credit card. Okay, and you also can take credit card payments with those options as well. What you want to be very careful of is you just want to make sure that you're abiding by that company's guidelines, and you want to make sure you look into any potential fees that you may be charged for utilizing that service for your business. What the customer has to do is they have to notify you by text, email, or phone when they have arrived. The entire idea is the customer is not supposed to be getting out of his or her car. Okay, they're not supposed to be getting out of their vehicle. They can text you, they can email you, they can call you, let you know that they've arrived. Hi, I'm outside in the parking lot, I'm in the front of the store. And then the idea is the customer remains in their car and a staff member comes out, puts the purchase either in the back seat or in the trunk, closes it, the customer's on their way. Okay, so that is how curbside pickup should look. And for anybody who has been doing takeout from any of the local restaurants or anything like that, that's how it has looked thus far with these individuals. Okay, so how do you protect your staff and your employees? This is really what we're going to talk about. This is the bulk of what we're going to be talking about today as we go through this presentation. And we're going to be talking about this as far as OSHA and CDC guidelines are concerned, because this is really critical. Okay, and for those of you who are on the line, I actually just got an alert on my phone that elective surgery and other elective medical procedures are now also going to be able to resume on May 26th. So those of you on the line with me right now who are my healthcare provider clients, that is excellent news for all of you, and makes this even more pertinent. Okay, if you're going to be opening up your practice again, opening up your surgical center again, what have you. So how do you protect your staff and your employees? Okay, employers you must follow social distancing and mitigation protocols from all prior executive orders. Now remember, I said that we started at 107, we're at 142 now, there's a lot there, but we're going to go through it together right now. You do have to require workers to wear face coverings when they're in contact with other workers and customers. Okay, this is a question I've been getting a lot from my clients. Well, we don't have any public interaction. Do my employees have to wear masks? Yes, if they are in contact with one another, they do have to wear face coverings, and that is so everyone is protecting everyone else. And then this one, again, my healthcare clients who are on the line, we could probably debate all day over the intelligence of this one, but require workers to wear gloves when in contact with goods or customers. Now, from my healthcare and infection control background, I'll just provide the caveat that unless they are changing their gloves between every contact with a customer or another third party that could potentially be infected, that's not really doing much. So you don't want to give your employees a pair of gloves in the morning and just tell them to wear them all day. And we all see this. Anybody who's been in the supermarket has seen this. The person who's checking me out is wearing the same gloves they wore to check out the person before me. That's not doing anything. They should really be changing them between every customer. Okay, but the bright line of the requirement says require workers to wear gloves when in contact with goods or customers. Okay, so these are the general outlines of the executive order. So where do we go from here? Where do we get the definitions? Where do we get more information? Okay, we get more information from the CDC guidelines and from OSHA. Okay, so we're going to talk about the CDC guidelines first. All right, so CDC guidelines, now keep in mind that the CDC guidelines are not mandatory. However, they are a very good barometer of what is going to be expected of you. And if you do have an employee or a customer who complains, what you need to do about that. Okay, I'm sorry, there's a question. I apologize, I almost missed it. The question is, if employees are 6 feet apart or more, do masks need to be worn? Okay, what I am currently advising my clients is no. If your employees are 6 feet apart or more, and you could make arrangements for them to be 6 feet apart or more, they do not need to be wearing masks. Once they are out of that 6 foot range of everyone else in the office or in the facility, then they do not need to be wearing masks. That's the whole concept of, if they're going to be in contact with each other is really that 6 foot barometer. Okay, can they sit there and wear masks if it makes them more comfortable? Of course they can. I wouldn't tell someone that they can't wear their mask. That was a lot of a problem that supermarket chains and essential store chains were having at the beginning. They were telling their employees, don't wear masks, you're going to scare people. My advice is do not do that. If you have an employee who is comfortable wearing a mask, then certainly, allow them to do that. Don't prohibit them from doing that. But more than 6 feet apart, they don't have to wear them. Okay. The difficult part there is if they have to put it on, if they're going to walk up and down a hallway, if they're going to use the restroom, if they're going to go somewhere where they could potentially be within 6 feet of other employees. Okay, so the CDC guidelines, you want to designate a workplace coordinator. Okay, this is going to be your person who is the point person for all of your employees who have questions about, coming back to work, what's going to be put in place for them, what kind of protections are they going to have, what do they do if the kids are still out of school, things like that. You want to designate a workplace coordinator. Sometimes with some of my clients, they'll say, well, it's me. I'm the business owner. I'm HR. I do everything. That's fine. It can be you. If you have someone who typically deals more with the HR end for you, an office manager, a store manager, a lead salesperson, something like that, you could designate that person as well. Okay, this is not a punishment designation. It's more just making sure all of your employees know, who do I go to if I have questions, and that if they have questions, they can go to that person and get answers. So with that said, you want to pick someone that you're confident isn't going to just sweep questions under the rug. They're going to provide answers, and they're going to come to you if they don't know what the answer is, so those problems can be resolved. You want to examine and review all of your policies for leave and telework. Okay, so the CDC is still putting guidance out there that any of your employees that can work remotely should be permitted to continue to work remotely. Obviously, for retail businesses, healthcare businesses, this is not practical, but for some it might be. Okay, your biller may still be able to work remotely. Your buyer for your stock for your store may still be able to work remotely. So, you know, your bookkeeper, if you have one on site, may still be able to work remotely. Okay, so the CDC guidelines are that if anybody can still effectively work remotely, you want to try to keep those telework policies in place. And as far as examining review policies for leave, we're going to talk about that a little bit more at the end, and about the various federal laws that have come out about paid time off and job protection, specifically related to COVID-19. But when we say examine these review policies for leave and telework, that's really what we're talking about. You want to make sure that any paid time off and leave policies that you have in place now are compliant with the COVID-19 federal laws, because the last thing that you want to happen is you've gone through all of this, you've gotten your business back up and running, and all of a sudden you're getting hit with a lawsuit by someone who says that you were supposed to give them something that you didn't. Okay, it could be absolutely disastrous, and you know, when your business is barely getting back up and running to begin with, to get hit with something like that. Okay, so we're going to talk about a lot of that as we go forward, but I just want to kind of put that there now to as one of the general things that you need to do. You want to identify your essential employees. Okay, so basically, who are your essential employees for your business functions, and who are your essential people for other critical things? Who do you get your raw materials from? Who are your suppliers? Okay, do you have any independent contractors that you need to continue doing their work for you? You want to identify your essential employees, and you want to make sure that you not only communicate with all these essential employees, not only about why they're essential, but you know what their responsibilities are, but you need to have a plan in place if one of these essential employees falls out of rank, out of line, how you're going to keep your business going. Okay, for example, one of the questions I got before this webinar, I was asked, well, are you going to talk about how, you know, I, as an independent contractor, what rights do I have if I am not comfortable going somewhere where I typically provide independent contractor services? And the bottom line is, if you have not created a safe environment and your independent contractors are not comfortable coming to your environment, they do not have to come, and they do not have to provide their services. Okay, so it's really, you're creating a safe environment not only to protect yourselves and protect your employees, but also, quite frankly, to protect your business. Okay, because if an independent contractor does not want to come to your business and do work, they don't have to come, and you need to find someone else. You need to find an alternate source for that work. Okay, so that's part and parcel goes to the next one, prepare business continuity plans. Okay, if an essential employee does get sick or is out or has to be out to take care of a child or a sick family member, what is your continuity plan? Okay, is that person going to be accommodated? Are they going to go on leave and you can get somebody temporarily to put in their place? All right, business continuity plans. And then also you need an emergency communication plan. If you don't already have, now a lot of people have, let's say, snow trees, okay? This could easily be just as easy as saying, okay guys, what we usually use is our snow tree. Now this is gonna be our emergency communication tree, okay? The boss calls 2 people, those 2 people each call 2 people, and so on. But you just wanna have that emergency communication plan, okay? Just in case, you know, as we get into the thick of it with contact tracing, you're notified that somebody who is COVID positive was in your business the day before. Okay, you need to have that emergency communication plan because you need to get that information out to your employees, and you need to get the remediation information out to them as well. All right, so I just said CDC is guidance. Okay, OSHA is law. So while the CDC guidance is all well and good, and I think it's wonderful guidance, it's not necessarily law. It's not necessarily something that a government agency is going to come in and say, hey, you're not following all of the CDC guidelines. Now, for my healthcare clients who are on the line, that's not necessarily the case, okay? There are situations in which you will be subject to CDC standards, okay? And if you want to talk about that a little bit more, we can certainly talk a little bit more about that offline for my healthcare clients. But for non-healthcare, typically CDC guidelines are really a best practices, and they're not really holding you to that. OSHA applies to everyone, okay? Occupational safety and health, okay? It applies to everyone. Healthcare businesses, restaurants, retail stores, landscapers, okay? Construction workers, it applies to everyone. So, oh, pardon me, popped forward a little bit too quickly there. So I just want to put this out there so everyone understands. Some states do run their own OSHA state plans. New Jersey is not one of those states as far as private sector employment. While New Jersey does have an OSHA approved state plan for state and local government workers, private sector employers and their workers are all covered by federal OSHA. Okay, so this is really the point in the presentation where this applies to if you're listening to me and you're in New York, if you're listening to me and you are in Pennsylvania, if you're listening to me and, you know, I have some former clients that are in Texas now, no matter where you are that you're listening to me, these things apply, okay? So first and foremost, I want to make sure that everyone is aware. If you have never been to the OSHA website, it's www.osha.gov. Go there. They have so many resources, so many free resources, so many excellent free resources that really nobody should be paying a third party for these OSHA resources until they have gone to the website and seen what they can get free of charge directly from OSHA. And one of the most important things, particularly for the individuals I have on the line with me today, is the Small Business OSHA Handbook, which I've put the link right there for you, okay? It's a website, but you can also print it out in PDF format, review it, put it in a binder, train your staff on it, and it's all right there for you, free. All you have to pay for is the internet service that you access it with and the paper you're printing it on, and maybe the binder you're gonna put it in, okay? And then one of the really critical things for purposes of today's presentation is their guidance on preparing workplaces for COVID-19, okay? This booklet was just published, okay, and obviously in the past month because we, you know, haven't been dealing with this much longer than that. And it's roughly a 25 to 30 page comprehensive guidebook on how to integrate OSHA compliance into your business, into your workplace, in consideration of COVID-19, which is really not something that we've ever had to deal with before. So again, I cannot emphasize enough, these things are free. OSHA has done all the work for you. OSHA has paid the money for these publications for you. Click the links and go right there. And what I will do is actually, let me see here. I'm going to put this handout right now where it says handouts. I'm going to put this presentation into that handout section right now. So you can all download it. And if you're not able to click the live links now, you will have it, and at a later date, you can click those live links. Okay, so let's see if we can get that in there. All right, but while I am working on getting that in there, let's move on and discuss, okay, so great, Gina, you've told us to download this book. What does this book say? All right, so let's talk a little bit about what the book says. All right, so, and it says a lot. I'm really just gonna go over an overview. So what are the OSHA standards under COVID-19? Okay, there are steps that all employers should take. Okay, All right, there we go. I apologize. I lost my box for a second. Okay. So there are steps that all employers need to take when reopening to be OSHA compliant under COVID-19. Okay, and we have a question. Where is the handout link? You know what? The handout link was on the prior slide, but what I am going to do is I am going to upload this presentation under the handout section so people can access it that way. And then anybody who would like a copy of the slides, please don't hesitate to just email me after this presentation if you can't figure out how to pull them from the handouts link. Okay, and you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the links in that chat box that I referenced at the beginning of the presentation. So let's go ahead and do that right now so everyone can access them. Okay, so we have the one, if you go directly to www.osha.gov. Okay, that one is for all your small business resources. Okay, and this one is for, and I'm going to have to actually retype that one. This second one is for specifically the COVID publication. Okay, so, and we have another question. Yes, I certainly will. I will absolutely. The individual that just posted that question, I will be happy to send you the presentation. And anyone else who wants a copy of the presentation, please don't hesitate to let me know. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so steps that all employers need to take. Now, my healthcare client employers who are on the line right now, these are things you guys are already going to have. All right. Those of you who are not healthcare and not in the healthcare field, these are things that you may not have and you may need to develop. All right. So you need to develop an infectious disease preparedness and response plan. This is basically as simple as a written plan and procedure that says, okay, we were all exposed to COVID. Contact tracing told us someone ill was working here. It was self-reported. Someone ill came in as a customer or a client, it was self-reported. What do we do now? And you should have that written out is in a plan. That plan should be written out and it should be distributed and shared with all of your employees. Okay, you want to identify risk factors as applicable to different categories of employees. I'm going to go into that in more detail on subsequent slides. And you want to implement plans to minimize these risks. Okay, so first of all, basic infection prevention, okay? OSHA now, in addition to everything else that you need to do and you are required to do under OSHA to guarantee a clean and safe workplace for your employees, these things now are additional things that you need to be doing. So you need to be providing basic infection prevention. Again, my healthcare clients, you're doing half of these things already. Non-healthcare clients may not be doing these things depending on the type of industry you're in, but we do need to implement them. Okay, so this is as simple as providing resources and access to resources for frequent hand washing and utilization of hand sanitizer. Okay, you need to have a sink with soap and paper towels and hot water, okay, where people can frequently go to wash their hands. And you need to encourage frequent hand washing. It might be a situation now where you're working in a retail store and people didn't really think much about washing their hands, but now every time someone delivers a curbside order into someone's car, the rule might be you come back inside, you go to the sink, you wash your hands. okay? Or we're installing a sanitizer dispenser at the front door. Utilize sanitizer on your way back in the door, all right? If you don't have access to sinks, because a lot of retail stores don't, if you don't have access or convenient access to a sink or a hand washing area for your employees to use, then definitely invest in sanitizer dispensers, because I think that's something that's going to be with us for quite some time, even when we're back open for general operations. Okay, encourage all your workers to stay home if they are sick. And this is something that, you know, we very frequently, especially as Americans and as New York and New Jerseyans, have a lot of trouble with, okay? Sometimes it seems like there's some type of gold medal for going to work, even though you feel terrible and you're sick and you know, having a hard time breathing and you have a runny nose and you have a cough. All of that needs to end now. Okay, workers need to be encouraged to stay home if they're sick, and you need to make sure that you have appropriate paid sick time policies in place, and that you have appropriate support in place for your employees, where they're not going to ignore that encouragement. Okay, people need money, and especially after this, they're going to need money. They're going to be very anxious to get back to work. And if they don't get paid, if they are out sick, guess who's coming to work sick, even though you told them not to? Okay, so I want you to be very cognizant of that. If you can accommodate flexible work hours or work sites to minimize the number of people at any given work site at any given time, do that. Definitely increase physical distance between employees. I have had some clients who are non-healthcare clients, but were essential business. And one of the first things I told them to do is every workstation needs to be moved so that there's at least 6 feet between every workstation. Because this was the type of job where they can't, they're on phones, they can't be wearing a mask and competently doing their job. Okay, so increase physical distance between employees. You don't want to have, you know, 2 employees standing next to each other behind a cash register all day. I mean, I have heard stories about how, you know, healthcare offices are starting to test their staff because they finally got access to the testing, and everybody's been fine because they've been taking necessary precautions, and the only people who are not fine are the ones who are ignoring the precautions. So the precautions are working. No sharing of workstations. If you do have a type of situation where there's a day shift and a night shift, the workstations need to be completely disinfected between day person and night person. But no sharing like, oh, I need to go use the restroom. Can you cover my station for an hour? That should not be happening. Okay, and regular housekeeping must now include disinfection. I know a lot of offices, regular housekeeping is a matter of coming in the evening, you know, changing out the trash liners, doing a little sweeping, maybe a little dusting. Regular housekeeping must include disinfection. Okay, there's no particular guidelines for what level of disinfection. I have heard from some people, oh, I need an EPA certified company, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. But I would stick to CDC guidelines as to what is disinfection. Okay, so workplace flexibility. Again, you really want to review all of your sick leave policies to be sure they're flexible and they're consistent with all current guidance. And like I said, one of the last things we're going to go over this afternoon in the hour is the new federal laws and guidance about paid sick time. It's generally a good idea to relax any requirements you may currently have for doctor's notes to excuse absences, particularly for respiratory illness. And I want to talk about this one a little bit. In the state of New Jersey, as of October of last year, we had a law passed that required mandatory paid time off. Every employer in the state of New Jersey is now required to give 1 hour of paid time off for sick time, up to a maximum of 40 hours a year for every 30 hours an employee works. If you're not doing that, then please call me as soon as this presentation is over, because we need to get you up to speed with that. But because you'll notice that if you're not up to speed with that, then there's some additional requirements that you're going to have to put in place specifically for the remainder of 2020 that have to do with COVID, that you're going to not be prepared for. But under the New Jersey Mandatory Sick Leave Time Bill, doctor's notes can be required in order to have an excused or paid absence for illness. I believe it's 3 or more days. Please don't quote me on that. I don't have this one memorized off the top of my head yet. I apologize, but I believe it is 3 or more days. I would relax that, okay? Because if people feel like if they can't get to their primary care provider, they're scared to go to the ER, you know, the urgent care doesn't have time to see them. You know, it's very difficult for people to be getting routine and regular health care right now and to potentially be getting those doctor's notes. And especially the way that our healthcare system has been overwhelmed. And, you know, quite frankly, many people believe that it may be overwhelmed again very soon. You want to kind of not be too, you don't want to be too strict about requirements for, okay, salaried staff, no extra pay for sick time use. Yes. Okay. Since you're one of my regular clients and we've worked with this a lot together, I can tell you that your policies are fine. Salaried staff, if you have a regular paid time off policy, okay, and it doesn't differentiate vacation or sick time or what have you, as long as you're giving paid time off, it can qualify as compliant under the mandatory sick time bill. You just have to make sure you're calling it paid time off. And for salaried staff, there is a way that you could advance that paid time off. And yes, if you're giving them paid time off that could be utilized for any purpose, then no, you don't have to add extra time or pay for sick time use. But if anyone has any specific questions about that and your specific scenario, I'm happy to answer those offline as well. Don't hesitate to shoot me an email. Okay. And make sure all your employees are trained on all of these new protocols and policies. Informed employees are not only more compliant, but informed employees are going to feel safer and more confident in the fact that you are keeping them safe. Okay, so once you do all this work, don't keep it to yourself. Inform your employees what you've been doing and let them know what you've been doing to help them and keep them safe. Okay, so cleanliness, all right, safe work practices. Now this is a separate section with OSHA where they're talking about safe work practices that they will want in place. Okay, so if one of your employees files a complaint with OSHA and says, you know, they're not abiding by OSHA standards and OSHA comes in to investigate, or if God forbid one of your employees gets hurt, okay, then OSHA is definitely coming in. And here's what they're going to be looking for. Okay, they want to make sure that you're providing access to sanitation resources. All right, disinfectants, okay, sinks, hand soap, no touch trash cans, sanitizer that's at least 60% alcohol per CDC guidelines. Okay, and they want to see that you're offering access to disposable towels and surface disinfectants so employees can clean their own work areas. Okay, so it's not about only just cleaning their bodies and their hands. You want to make sure that they also have access and valid access, meaningful access to disposable towels and surface disinfectants to clean their work areas. Also, you want to post hand washing signs and require regular washing. Again, my clients on the line that are in healthcare or in the food industry, you very likely already have these signs in your facility. If you have, you know, a clothing store or a real estate office or, you know, some kind of office where you're usually not too strict about hand washing and things like that, you're going to want to post some hand washing signs with whatever your new protocols are. And you're going to want those new protocols to require regular hand washing and utilization of these disinfectants. All right, PPE. This has been a very, very big one. And this I've been getting questions about this over the last 6 to 8 weeks, from my clients all the way from, my individual clients who are employed in hospitals working the front lines, all the way to, clients that have retail stores, extracurricular schools, private practices, and things like that. All right, so OSHA gives us a lot of information about PPE and what is particularly required. As I said, I'm going to go over the basics of it, but really this COVID-19 guidance booklet on OSHA's website that is 100% free is really the keys to the castle here. So I do want everybody downloading that after we're done today. So personal protective equipment, what does this include? Gloves, goggles, face shields, face masks, and you regularly want to check with OSHA and the CDC to see if they're giving any updates or changes to recommendations of PPE. But right now, that's what we have going on, okay, is gloves, goggles, face shields, face masks. Most importantly, the face masks, okay, because as we're learning, even though wearing a face mask may not necessarily protect you from someone else's aspirated COVID, it protects others from COVID that you have aspirated. That is the current scientific guidance, okay? And you just want to make sure that you're keeping your ear to the ground and you're regularly checking OSHA and CDC for updates. And if you're not already following me on social media and my firm on social media, I try to post all of those updates as soon as I know about them. So please feel free to go ahead. The email that you got to sign up for this webinar has all of my social media channels at the bottom, including the YouTube channel that this video is going to be posted on. So feel free to go ahead and click follow on all of those, and you'll get the updates from my channels as well. Okay, so how do you pick PPE? Okay, you don't necessarily need people sitting in individual offices 10 feet apart from each other wearing face masks and gloves. All right, so it has to be selected and provided based on the level of risk to the employee. When it is provided, it needs to be fitted properly and refitted as needed. It does need to be consistently and properly worn, and as the employer, you do need to enforce that. And it does need to be replaced as necessary, okay? So as the employer, you are responsible for providing your employees with whatever level of PPE is required for them to effectively and safely do their job, all right? And you are required to replace that as necessary. And to make sure that it's being properly removed, cleaned, or stored, or disposed of when you do have control over that. Obviously, if your employees are coming in with their own masks and leaving with their own masks, it's not your responsibility to make sure that they're storing them properly, okay? But to the extent that you can control that. All right, so OSHA has developed 4 risk categories for employers, okay? Or employees, rather. Very high risk are our frontline healthcare workers, laboratory workers potentially working with COVID specimens, and the morgue workers potentially working with COVID infected individuals who have unfortunately passed away due to the illness. All right, these are our very high risk individuals. High risk healthcare delivery and support staff individuals, medical transport workers, and mortuary workers. Okay, still potentially regularly very high likelihood of getting exposed to COVID, but on a lesser level than our frontliners. Medium risk. Medium risk is anyone who's required to have frequent or close contact with individuals who may or may not be known to be infected with COVID. And these are generally our workers who have frequent contact with general public in high transmission geographic areas. Okay, right now, any of you who are listening to me in New Jersey, we are in a high transmission geographic area. If you're listening to me in New York, you are in a high transmission geographic area. Okay, so you definitely need to be cognizant of the fact that, if anywhere in the Northeast, we're absolutely still considered to be in a high transmission geographic area. And most of the workers who my employer clients deal with are in this medium risk category. Okay, your retail workers are in this medium risk category. Restaurant workers, medium risk category. Healthcare workers who are not actually dealing with specimens and bodily fluids, you're going to be medium risk. Okay, you're higher risk if you're primary care, you're actually dealing with fluids and specimens. Lower risk is perhaps your psychiatrist, psychologist, that you're really dealing with health of the mind and you're not really dealing with those physical touching and specimens. Okay, so it's most people I have on the call right now are going to be between medium and high risk. I've already done webinars for my very high risk folks in the past weeks. Okay, so, and then lower risk. Okay, these are your jobs that don't require any contact with the general public and minimal contact with the general public in or other workers. Okay, so this is if I have a couple individuals who do processing, they do factory work. Okay, as long as your factory workers are social distancing, staggering shifts, reduced workforce to maintain social distancing, this is considered low risk. Okay, because their job doesn't require contact with the general public and there's minimal occupational contact with the general public and other workers. Okay, so you can see how most of you are probably in that medium to high risk range. Okay, so what do the risk levels mean? Again, I cannot emphasize enough to please obtain the OSHA handbook. I know it seems like I'm giving you a lot of information, but I'm really just giving you an overview. And remember, it is free. This is the link, okay? And quite frankly, if you can't find the link, just Google OSHA Guidance on preparing workplaces for COVID-19. I promise you it will be the first thing that comes up. All right, you want to follow the specific guidelines therein for each risk category. It's way too much to cover in a 1-hour webinar. I could do 1-hour webinars on each risk category, okay? So please, I cannot emphasize to you enough, now that you have the general idea of what risk category you might be in and what you might need to provide for your employees, get the materials, get the book. It's 100% free. It quite frankly could not be easier to get the materials you need to comply with OSHA. And again, I am always happy to help. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit at the very end about services I offer to my small business clients if anyone feels that they do need that extra level of help. Okay, so you're open. So now what? All right, I have had a lot of questions from individuals along the lines of, well, I'm open, everybody can come back to work, I have everything implemented, but my employees are saying they still don't want to come back because they don't feel safe. Okay, now remember I said 5 minutes ago, independent contractors don't have to do anything they don't want to do. They're independent contractors. Okay, so an independent contractor walks in, they don't feel safe, it's their choice to walk out. Okay, they don't have any repercussions against you. They're independent contractors, they're not employees, but they could very well file a complaint against you. So just be cognizant of that, okay? Okay, I have a question. Mental health in New Jersey, low risk because we're working with the mind, or medium because we're in New Jersey? That's an excellent question. I think that if you are, I would actually differentiate mental health. I would put mental health in the medium risk category. And whereas I would put physical health in the high risk category. So our frontliners, I would put in very high risk. Physical medicine, we're actually touching your patients, you're dealing with bodily fluids, you're dealing, with saliva, blood, potentially urine, feces, all that lovely stuff that I went to law school because I don't like. I would put those people in the higher risk category. Mental health, I would put in the medium risk because you're still dealing with public. You still have patients in your office. You still potentially, maybe in situations where you're not maintaining 6 feet from them. So for mental health, yes, I would put you guys in the medium risk category, and I would prepare your offices as if you're in the medium risk category. I think that's the best course of action for those of you who are mental health physicians and providers. Okay, so you're open. Now what? Remember, I promised you at the end I was going to tell you about this federal law that was going to affect your employees and how you treat them. Well, here it is. It is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. Okay, it went into effect April 2nd, 2020. At first, we thought that it was only going to be in effect for the duration of the crisis, but it is going to be in effect until the end of the year. Okay, so it expires December 31st of 2020. Part of this Families First, and this is a federal law now, so whatever state you're sitting in listening to me, this applies to you. What this did is it basically enacted a few different laws. The first one is the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act. This law requires all employers with fewer than 500 employees to provide 10 days of paid sick leave to all employees, regardless of their tenure with the company. Okay, so a lot of states have earned paid sick time. A lot of companies have earned paid sick time. What this law does is it basically says, as of April 2nd, 2020, every single one of your employees has a bank. That bank has 10 days of paid sick leave in it, and you must give it to them if they're utilizing it for one of these 4 reasons. They're subject to a state or federal local COVID quarantine, or they're caring for someone who's subject to one of these quarantines. Currently in the state of New Jersey, we do not have a state, federal, or local quarantine, okay? We do have stay-at-home orders, but that is different from quarantine. If they are self-quarantining on the order or advice of a healthcare professional or caring for someone who falls into that category. If they have COVID symptoms and are seeking medical evaluation for that, or if they are caring for a child whose school or daycare is closed due to COVID. Okay, that is basically anyone with a child right now in the state of New Jersey, in the state of New York, in the state of Pennsylvania, in many, many states around the country. All right, so as of April 2nd, 2020, as soon as you reopen and you start taking furloughed employees back, everyone gets this 10 days of paid sick leave. All right, however, there are additional qualifications, okay? If employees are utilizing this relief due to their own illness, they're to be paid at their regular rate, however, not more than $511 per day, okay? If they're using this relief to care for a child or another person, then they get 2/3 of their regular rate, but no more than $200 per day. Part-time employees get this prorated, okay? And employees with varying schedules, you do an average, okay? And you give them an average of hours they worked per day over the previous 6 months period. Employees cannot be required to use any currently existing paid time off before electing this paid time off under this law. Okay, so the federal government has basically said, hey, small businesses who are suffering, you now have to give another 10 days of paid time off to all of your employees if they're utilizing it for any of these reasons. But they do give one clarification, okay? Now, I said before, this applies to all individuals, all employers rather, with under 500 employees. But there is a very minor exception. Usually there's exceptions for under 50 employees, under 25 employees. None of that applies here. Okay, and I'm actually going to skip forward because I want to go to the last slide first, and then we'll go back to talk about the job protections. The Secretary of Labor has the ability to exempt employers with fewer than 50 employees if such payment would jeopardize the viability of the business. Okay. If you have fewer than 25 employees, you do not have to guarantee an equivalent position under the job protection provisions. We're going to go back and go over the job protection provisions. All right, but the two important things here, Secretary of Labor has the ability to exempt employers with fewer than 50 employees if such payment would jeopardize the viability of the business. And there are tax credits that are intended to alleviate the financial burden of this law. Okay, so any employers who are paying under this law can take certain tax credits, but this is capped at $10,000. So if you are paying under this law, you immediately need to have a conversation with your accountant, your bookkeeper, your financial advisor, whomever you use to determine what tax credits you take and make sure that you are paying out these benefits properly so you can take maximum advantage of these tax credits. Okay, so now we're going to go back. There is also a job protection provision under this statute. So there's two different things that the law will give employees. It will give them payment for certain things, and then it will give them job protection for certain things. Sometimes the law only gives job protection, but they have to be out of work unpaid. Sometimes it gives payment and protection. Okay, so this one gives job protection, protected leave for up to 12 weeks for any employee who has been working for you for at least 30 days, must stay at home to care for a child whose school or place of care is closed due to COVID. The first 2 weeks of this 12-week period are unpaid, okay, as the first 2 weeks are payable under the 10-week provision, and then they can get paid from the government, okay? And they are entitled to pay at 2/3 of their regular rate, capped at $200 per day for weeks 3 through 12. Okay, so they have to, if somebody comes to you and says, I'm taking this 12 weeks of protected leave, you pay them for the first 2 weeks, the government pays them for weeks 3 through 12. And you have to give them their job back when they come back in week 13, the same way women who go out on maternity leave, men who go out on paternity leave, parents who go out for child bonding time or family leave of any kind have that protected status. Okay, the exception here for your very small employers is if you have fewer than 25 employees, you do not have to guarantee an equivalent position. All right, typically when somebody goes out on a period of protected job leave, you must give them an equivalent position when they return. All this law is saying is if you have under 25 employees, you just have to give them a job. You don't necessarily have to give them an equivalent position to the one that they left. Okay, this is very tricky. This is where I do advise my clients, if you have an attorney, work with them. If you don't, I am happy to be that person for you. And make sure that as you're going through all these steps, you have someone to call and talk to and work through all these individual scenarios with you, because it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. And if you do have a situation where you have an employee who doesn't qualify for one of these protections, they're going to be angry about that. And you want to make sure that you're preparing yourself to bear the brunt of their anger when they do file a complaint or some such thing. Okay, so you're open, stay that way, okay? As you're going forward, think outside the box of the brick and mortar, all right? Social media marketing is an excellent tool. I personally have been in business for 5 years. I have never paid for advertisement. Okay, social media marketing, word of mouth, presentations, getting myself out there. There are a lot of things available to you that you do not have to throw, as they say, good money after bad. And you can increase your presence more than just the people that may be walking down Main Street when Main Street's not open. Okay, or the people who may be walking, down the boardwalk if the Jersey Shore is not open. All right, so social media marketing, use these things to your advantage. Make sure you use them wisely, okay? And there's a lot of guidance out there for that. But do things like, if you have a clothing boutique, do lives of new things you've gotten in, highlight pricing, okay? Sizing, how they fit. If you are willing to post various items you have online. I'm thinking of one particular store in the town where I live has been doing daily posts every day. Hey, here's what we got in, here's the pricing, we're doing free local delivery, call us up, tell us what you want. And they've been doing very well throughout the entire closure with that model. Okay, online payment portals, Figure out a way that you can get an online payment portal. This helps you because, quite frankly, you're getting paid before you put the time and energy into putting packages together for people that are coming curbside to pick up. If you don't have a website, now is the time to jump on that bandwagon and get one. Okay, think about e-commerce. All right, you can have e-commerce where you're not shipping. You're simply saying, here's e-commerce, check out, and then we'll call you when you can come pick up your order at our curbside. Okay, and don't dismiss the effectiveness of online live events and things like that to get people's attention. You really have to think outside the box now. The foot traffic is not going to be there. It's not going to be back for a while. Okay, simply because we are going to be in this world of social distancing for quite some time. And you really, what I like to do for my clients is I like to try to offer, business management as well as legal advice. And these are all things that I'm guiding my clients to think about towards the future. Okay, and of course, online services to the extent you can provide them, telemedicine, online classes, exclusive online access to new product launches. These are all ways that you can really make sure you're integrating yourself into this new future where brick and mortar is lovely. I can't wait till I can go into a store again and browse and touch things and look at things. Okay, but you have to be more than that now, and I truly think that you're going to have to be more than that in the immediate and distant future in order to continue thriving in this new environment. So I did promise you that I would let you know what options I have to help you as small business owners. Keep an eye on me as far as I am going to try to continue doing free webinars such as this to get information out as we go forward. Anybody who knows me knows that I just simply love educating and helping people. So keep an eye out on my social media and in your email box. I will be putting together more of these presentations. But if you want more intimate one-on-one guidance, I do have a program with my firm called the Cornerstone Program. It is an annual retainer program, and it is $8.99 a year. It is a flat payment of $8.99 a year. And for that, you basically get unlimited telephone access to me and my firm to ask all your questions, go over all of your scenarios, and discuss anything that you may want to discuss about your employees, your employer, how you need to put things together to get your business up and running again. If you have a problem with an employee, call me, talk about it. If you have a problem with a customer, call me and talk to me about it. If your landlord's giving you issues, okay? All of these things, how to manage your social media presence and your online presence if you're getting into that. All of these things are covered under that one flat annual fee as far as discussion and advice. And then you are able to access significantly reduced rates if we do come into any services that are not covered. So I would love to have each and every one of you as part of my Cornerstone family. If you'd like more information about that, please don't hesitate to email me. And here is all of my contact information. As you can see, my main office is located in Wyckoff, New Jersey. I do have an office of convenience in Neptune, New Jersey for my Jersey Shore and my South Jersey clients, as well as an office of convenience in Manhattan. Obviously, right now, all of my offices are closed. I am working remotely, but when we are open and running again, Wyckoff is usually where I am every day. If you'd like to see me in either of the other offices, please do make sure you call first, because I will not, if you simply walk in, I won't be there. Okay, and as I said, I'm licensed in New Jersey, New York, DC, Pennsylvania, and Vermont, and I am really happy to help you. And I am happy to work with you. And I just had a question. Could you please send me the webinar? I just finished. I was unable to listen to about 90% of it. Yes, I am going to, I said at the top, but for those of you who came in late, the entire webinar was recorded, and probably within the hour, it's going to be posted on my YouTube channel. Everybody who attended the webinar, I'm going to be emailing you the link where you can access that. But if you have any friends or colleagues who didn't get a chance to listen to it that you think would be valuable for them, please don't hesitate. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as I add other free content, videos, webinars, telephone conferences, things like that. You will be alerted that there's new content. I try to put out new content and valuable content there on a regular basis. So if you want to go back and listen to anything, or if you missed part of it, beginning, middle, or end, I certainly understand that. That happens to me as well when I'm attending webinars. You will be getting the link. And what I will also do, as I had a couple people say, where's your YouTube channel? When I send out the link, I will also send out information on how to subscribe to my YouTube channel and how to subscribe to my other social media channels. So we're a little bit over, but I really appreciate everyone's time and attention. Thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon. I hope that the information I was able to provide was valuable. And I hope that each and every one of you will not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. I wish you all the best of luck. And I personally cannot wait to be walking down Main Street, popping in and out of all of my local businesses again. So I wish you all the best of luck. Stay healthy, stay well, and I and my firm are here for you if you need us. Thank you so much.